The ancient Greek pantheon are commonly known to have lived atop Mount Olympus, where Zeus's libido would ruin everything. Olympus is here, and throughout ancient Greece people would visit the mountain to see it for themselves and to make offerings to the gods. But if they knew at the top of this mountain sat the home of the gods, why didn't they climb up it and go and see them? So, did the Greeks actually climb the mountain? Yes, all of the time. Across the numerous peaks of Olympus, many carvings and offerings to the gods, mostly Zeus, have been found. And many writers, both Roman and Greek, refer to the regular pilgrimages up the mountain. But obviously said pilgrims weren't greeted by golden palaces or annoyed deities. But would this have disappointed them? For the overwhelming majority, no, it was expected. But let's be honest though, there were totally some Greeks who climbed Olympus to have a go at Zeus only to find nothing but rocks. So how did the Greeks square that circle? Well, first of all, the ancient Greek and later Roman ideas of where the gods lived was complicated. Across the region, there were many people who believed that the gods did literally live atop Mount Olympus. And thus they named their local tall mountain that, but as time went on, it was soon discovered that this mountain was the tallest of all. At least on Earth, that is. And so that came to be the Mount Olympus. Since most of the ancient Greek people were never ever going to see Mount Olympus, let alone climb it, there was nothing to challenge this belief, and so happy they were. So what about those that had seen the mountain? Well, they could see the lack of palaces at the top. But given that Zeus was the supreme leader of the cosmos, then he could obviously hide them from mortals. However, those that lived around the mountain, those that had seen it before, and many philosophers had a less literal belief when it came to the home of the gods. It's similar to the medieval interpretation of heaven. Many saw it as being in the sky, but not literally the sky. Otherwise World War II would have taken a very odd turn. Anyway, as the highest place in Greece, Olympus was still as close as one could get to the gods, and it was seen as a connecting point between the physical world and the divine one. And thus it was very important. This may seem contradictory, but the Greeks were very familiar with that, since the gods themselves were inherently such. They believed that Zeus was all-knowing, but he was routinely taken by surprise when the other gods were scheming. Furthermore, the Greeks knew that the gods had no physical limitations, but they also planned their journeys, which they sometimes undertook in chariots. These logical issues didn't bother the Greeks in the slightest, so Olympus was hardly going to be a stumbling block for them. Incidentally though, when obviously taller mountains were discovered, there was no attempt to move Olympus there, and it was just accepted that this was in Greece, but Greece was special. Because the pantheon were hardly going to be hanging out in Persia, were they? I hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bizanet, Kelly Moneymaker, Sky Chappelle, Kartoitska, Anthony Beckett, Rod D. Martin, Yuduan Wang, Marcus Arsner, YN Hockey, Alex Schwinn, AF Firefly, Captain Psydog, Spencer Lightfoot, Gustav Swan, The McWhopper, Shuenin, Marvin Cassow, Winston Kaywood, Spinning 3 Plates, Andy McGeehee, Kamoon Yoon, Calling Dr. Howard, Dr. Fine, Dr. Howard, Todd Short, Copper Tone, Maggie Patskowski, Words About Books Podcast, Jim Stromberg, Miss Izet, and Charles the First.